Welcome, everyone. This is the One Actual Sim community. I'm Callie, and I apologize. It's been quite some time since I have streamed. Today, I'm actually honored to have with us some members of the Hornet School to talk a little bit about Squadrons and preparation and what they do for it. Before we get started, though, I hope everyone has enjoyed some of the other videos we put out. We've had a lot of response, and so we're going to be doing some more live streaming of missions, as well as hopefully doing some more interviews and stuff like this. Before we get started too deep, I'd like to introduce everyone here from the Hornet School. Echo, why don't you introduce yourself a little bit?
Yes, hi. My name is Echo. I'm from the Pacific Northwest. And honored to be here. Thanks, Callie, for inviting us. I've been into flight sims for probably 25 years or so, and got into DCS about 3 years, really, and kind of latched on to flying the Hornet. So, just happy to be here.
What made you choose the Hornet?
The flexibility of it, the versatility of it. It was just one of my favorite aircraft growing up. And 20 years ago, back in the early days of the internet, I flew the Hornet. So I was always interested in the F-18 Hornet because everything it could do, the multi-role aspect of flying the Hornet.
Nice.
Yep.
And Fett, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, well, like Echo said, thanks for having us on. We appreciate it. Everyone calls me Fett. I was one of the early graduates. I don't know if I wasn't the first, but one of the early graduates of the syllabus. And now luckily got to move on to being someone who teaches the early stuff to some of the new guys. I'm probably like one of the newer into DCS out of everyone here. I think I'm about a little over a year now into it, on and off with flight sims for probably like a decade or so, but only the last year I actually decided to sit down and learn how to actually do what I was doing.
Well, that's kind of the point of the Hornet School, but we'll get into that. Hornet, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Good evening, everyone. So I'm Hornet. I currently am stationed up in Alaska, so it's pretty cool being up here. No pun intended. I've been doing flight sims. Geez, Microsoft Flight Sim 98, maybe. I know it goes way back. I remember sitting at my grandmother's house playing on, Windows XP or gosh, I don't even know, but playing those old flight sim games. And I always had a appreciation for aviation, with my father being a Navy helicopter pilot. So growing up also in the cradle of naval aviation, Pensacola, Florida, right next to the Blue Angels. That's kind of where I got my feet wet in DCS. It was a very easy choice for me to pick the Hornet, and in doing so, I've been doing DCS since 2019 and ever since.
Nice. Tanner, certainly not least, but you are last, sir.
Oh, yeah. Well, thank you guys, and thanks, Callie, for having me. My name's Tanner. I'm also from the Pacific Northwest, just like Echo. And the four of us, we kind of banded together earlier this year, and we really started a fantastic program together called the Hornet School. And me personally, I've been flying both in the real world and also in the sim for about 8.5 years or so. I've been in DCS for about 3, and I've just absolutely loved every moment of it. We've done so many different things, different projects, events. I've been in different teams, squadrons, all the likes of. So really glad to be here.
Well, and before we get into more about what the Hornet Squadron does, I'll talk about myself. I used to be really, really big into sim racing, kind of at a psychotic level, and there's just a never-ending amount of time you can put in. For the viewers and for you guys, we're going to watch a little bit of carrier ops here. The stream, we've got some TAC view that we'll be looking at. We'll talk about that a little bit as we see it. But here we just got a recovery going on. And after you see the landings, we'll see the actual TAC view of all this. But I played Battlefield. Any of you guys ever do Battlefield?
Oh, yeah.
Bit back in the day.
Yeah. So I did Battlefield starting with, what was it? 1942. And I was so impressed watching how the guys in the air could actually have an impact on the ground war. And that was just totally impressive to me. They could land these planes where maybe they shouldn't, or weren't intended. And they could do all of these interesting things. I don't think I was that good. And quickly Battlefield Vietnam came out. Got a little better. It was really in Battlefield 2 where you could work with squadrons. They could call out targets. And though the flying was very arcadey, I didn't really understand it at that time. I just enjoyed that teamwork. Well, all of that was completely poisoned when I got a hold of BMS. You guys ever mess with BMS?
In the early days of Falcon 4.
Yeah.
4.0.
So for anyone who doesn't know, Falcon 4 was what, the 90s it came out?
Yeah. Like
Yeah.
97, 98.
Yeah. And so Benchmark Sims put together a mod for it. I flew that F-16, and I got to tell you, everything to do with Battlefield was completely dead for me. Right? There was just no going back. I wanted something that felt real because that just felt more engaging and more natural to fly. Unfortunately, the BMS community, I never found a good home. In fact, I struggled so much trying to find a squadron. And look, how anyone plays, I will never judge. It should be a hobby. You should do what you enjoy. But finding a good fit for myself was really, really difficult. I found guys that wanted to fly multiple jets and do all these missions. I didn't even have the binding set up, but I'm trying to get those done right before the mission, and I don't know the jet. And to me, it was just a planned failure, right? And so it took me a long time. In fact, I looked it up. The first real squadron I dealt with, I joined their Discord in 2017 because I'd shotgun joined about 4 or 5 Discords. I didn't actually start flying with them until August of 2020. That's how long and frustrating it was for me. Can you believe that?
It was long.
Yeah, that's nuts, right? So the point here is we get a lot of people that come to One Actual, and if they're not, interested in what we do, or if they don't have the experience, which you guys will talk about coming in a second, I try to send them somewhere that I think might be a good fit because I had that struggle. And believe it or not, one of our guys came to us, started flying with you guys. He didn't really have the experience, but we liked him. We'll just call him T. I think you guys know who I'm talking about, right?
Yes, sir.
Oh, yeah.
Because I haven't got his permission. And you guys have done some stuff and he's come back. Well, he told me where he was flying. And here's my favorite part of today. Are you ready? Do you realize last week I came to you guys looking to scrutinize you, judge you, wondering what the heck you're teaching my candidate. And, now here we are on a podcast. So we've reversed that in a week.
I remember that conversation. It kind of scared me a little bit, actually.
Yeah. I'm like, what are you doing to my candidate? Because I didn't know who you guys were. So let's talk about that for a little bit, because I've actually referred another member to you guys. And why don't you guys tell me a little bit about Hornet School and why you choose to do God's work for the community? Because that's what I want to know.
It's fun.
It's fun.
Yeah.
No, at the end of the day, it is fun, but it's a lot of work. But I'll let Hornet answer. He's always got the
Yeah,
best.
Hornet
I'm
is really the
burning.
reason why this is working. So
Yeah. Yeah.
This is Hornet's brain.
Well, I wouldn't say it's the reason it's working, but I will say this. So, I've always really, really enjoyed teaching, and I've always really, really enjoyed DCS. It's been the one constant outlet of my life where I can always go at the end of the day and smile and, you know, do cool stuff. And I want that experience for everybody else in the entire world. It's funny because every chance I get, I try to tell people about DCS. DCS. Oh yeah, you should get the Hornet. If you get the Hornet, I'll teach you how to fly it. But really, the purpose of me starting this school is it goes actually way back to 2019. I met this wonderful, knowledgeable gentleman named Steele. And this man took me under his wing. Not only did he teach me the Hornet, but this guy made me sit through hours of video looking at the piping and the hydraulic system, the electrical schematics, everything that has to do with the Hornet before he would even let me hop in the game and fly my jet. So fast forward, he taught me in such a way that it was in easy, bite-sized, manageable lessons that it was always a challenge but never impossible. And going through his little program, he essentially within a month and a half made me completely comfortable with flying the Hornet. Fast forward a little bit to 2021, 2022. I'm starting to get that itch again to teach people. So I start reaching out in Facebook communities because I'm bored. I'm sitting here. It's summertime. I have nothing to do. I want to keep busy. And like I said, I want people to enjoy DCS the way that I enjoy it. Too many times you get people who download DCS, they hop in, they are immediately overwhelmed. They look at how fun War Thunder is or how fun Ace Combat 7 is, and then they go and do that. So I want to make it easy and enjoyable for everybody else. So back in 21, 22, I start going on these Facebook pages and I start reaching out to all kinds of people. And I essentially say, hey, I will run a summer school. The first 5 people that message me, I will teach you this summer how to fly the Hornet and be ready to join a squadron. That's actually where I met one of the Hornet School founders in this room. I won't say he's the OG student, but he's pretty special though. So again, fast forwarding even further, like as I said, I enjoy teaching, and it was this spring I was sitting at the house, and I said, you know what, let's try this. I'm just gonna shotgun this message out to as many Facebook and Reddit communities as I can. Of hey, I'm interested in starting what I'm going to call the Hornet School. It is going to be a noob-friendly academy or school. It will not be a squadron, and our job as instructors in this school is to get you from 0 to hero, essentially. So we're going to do all that groundwork for you. We're going to get you from buying your first HOTAS to setting up SRS to downloading DCS to all the way to cyclical carrier operations. And the majority of squadrons, that's really what they look for. They look for, hey, can you air-to-air refuel? Do you know how to take off and land? Do you know how to do case 1? Are you good on the mic or radio comms? And if I was able, and as I was talking with the gentleman in this room right now, we were all saying, hey, this is something that's feasible. Like let's do this. And so they were on board with it. And then I kid you not, I posted this message on Facebook, and I think I went to dinner with one of my friends, and later that night I looked at it and I had like 900 reacts and almost 200 comments of people saying, yes, I want to do this. This would be great. I was like, Jesus. Okay, I guess I really have to do this now. But again, like, I will say, I could not do this without the people in this room. This is nothing easy. This is absolutely nothing easy. It is fun. It is rewarding. But Echo, Fett, and Tanner all know that if one of us were to leave, the whole machine would fall apart. So I really want to open the floor up to one of them to continue the story. But,
let me interject really quick with something. So when I say you're doing God's work, this is the dirty work of a squadron. And let me just paint a picture here of how I think a lot of people start. I know for me, before I read anything, I want to see how cool this is. So I'm the guy that'll get on the runway, mash the throttles, get going, pull the stick back, and ta-da, I'm a pilot, right?
Absolutely.
And so a lot of people have to find a reason, because in the real world, to be a fighter pilot, there are years of study and, years of effort, and it's competitive, and there can be anything from medical issues to stress to not making the test that wash you out. If you're successful, there is a full structure of instruction and classroom and a cadre of instructors that are there to help you, who have all been there and beyond. Whereas here, if you're trying to do things in the jet and fly formation and use radios and refuel in the air, or God forbid, get out there and work with a JTAC and do something complicated, those steps are vertical challenges that, on your own could take, months and months and months. So, as a squadron, one actual, we have 4 different squadrons. I fly with VFA 192, and we don't have the cadre or time to teach someone the jet and the high level things we do as a squadron. It's one of our weaknesses. I wish I had instructors. And so I kid about God's work, because to me, if you're willing to do all of that to make someone better, to make my squadron better so that when they come, they're more prepared. Like, I can't emphasize enough in my mind how much of a service that is to the community, which there's a link below, by the way, to their Discord. If you want to learn a little bit more about the Hornet, or if you're curious about a squadron, or if you want to challenge yourself, I say go there. But the main thing is I think it's great. The sim community has always been helpful, getting my joystick set up and doing this or that. But this is next level to me. This is pouring your life and effort into making people better. And I appreciate that.
Well, Callie, if I could just say that that's exactly our purpose. So we've all been in squadrons, and earlier in our DCS careers. And we know exactly what it was like to join a squadron where we didn't really know our aircraft. So we know what the struggle was. The squadrons, when you join a squadron, they want to get you mission ready.
Absolutely.
They don't really have the time to teach you the fundamentals of flying your aircraft, show you how to enter waypoints, how to sequence them, all the nitty gritty of actually flying your aircraft. They want to get you ready to put in their mission. So it made a lot of these new young DCS players kind of stressed out, because they don't know what they're doing. So a lot of them kind of leave and they go back to War Thunder or Ace, whatever that other game is. But we felt that there was a need for something like this. So Hornet created the school with that purpose in mind, to get those people who were new to DCS and new to the Hornet, teach them how to fly their jet, how to take off, how to use radio comms, how to get to the carrier, how to navigate, how to recover from flat spins, things like this, before they get to the squadron. So once they felt comfortable with that, once they get in the squadron, they can now start to focus on the combat side of flying their Hornet. So essentially, that's that's what this is all about.
Confidence building.
Well, and it's the skills, right? Like, so we're watching a stream of a case one recovery where I think we had 15 jets. We intentionally got everybody in the overhead. This is done zip lip. It's a complicated thing until you know it, and then it becomes a little bit more simple because you just follow the pattern. But at the end of the day, it's all of those skills that, you know, there is the NATOPS, which is the general guide. There may be Squadron SOP, that's some particular thing that people like to argue all the time about in this community, which I don't really want to get into just yet. But, you know, then there is all the little skills that you need, right? How to maintain altitude, maintaining on speed, knowing where you are. And that's where some of that stuff is in the NATOPS and it is in SOPs, but there's also the human touch that makes that difference. And for me, I could read it, I could go fly it and drop a bomb, but not doing it in context and not doing it with other people, I was bored. Right. So you guys add that extra layer of not just information, but interaction.
That's where I was at.
Yeah. Go ahead, Fed.
I was just going to say that's where I reached out to Facebook. Was I had sat, you know, a lot of people want to rag on them, but the Grim Reapers, I watched one of their videos, and that's what gave me the inspiration of like, I want to go do that. Like, look at this cool mission they went and ran. It wasn't even in a Hornet, but I was just like, I want to do that. That looks like fun. Didn't realize what a massive undertaking that I was embarking on. Went and, you know, started watching videos, trying to learn on the struggle bus for days. And I was just like, hey, is anyone out there? Give me a hand for an hour. Again, not realizing just what a huge ask I'm asking for. But Hornet, the savior here, he hit me up and he was like, hey, if you do this little syllabus I have set up, I'll take you from like where you're at right now to ready to at least join a group that will then get you ready to do the thing you want to do. And I was like, cool, let's do it. And went through the syllabus, you know, each step by step. And it was grueling. It was tough, but super rewarding. Like at the end of it, like I said, you know, before, confidence building, I tell so many students, confidence is 90% of what you're doing. Air-to-air refueling. It's tough when there's a guy right behind you watching you. Different story when someone's not there, right? It's that confidence that gives you the ability to do it. And like joining a squadron day one, I'm so glad I didn't try to do that, because I would have gone in and realized how green I was. No one would have wanted to take in the amount of time, like you were saying, to help me learn AOA, everything else, and just waste their time, you know, on someone who may not even stick around for 3-4 weeks, which, you know, unfortunately we do see a lot of students come and go, but it's tough. You know, it washes a lot of guys out. But having the commitment to it is so huge. Well,
let's talk about that for a moment. I think, you know, and I posed in my, you know, thumbnail advertising this, you know, squadrons, are they worth it? And the reason I ask that is because it is a lot of work. It can be overwhelming. The number of things coming at you at one time is, you know, I've had people just, you can tell they just get overwhelmed. It's not fun and they recoil. And I think that's where people need to take a step back and realize that a real fighter pilot, you know, years and years and years of effort, right? So let's take this into some bite-sized chunks. Let's show you a skill, let you develop it, build some confidence off of that, and kind of work forward one little chunk at a time. Is that how you guys approach it?
100%. It's I always equate it when you're brand new at this, like I was. I mean, I couldn't have told you an upwind from a downwind. No, I mean, I was so green. It was all new to me. And it was like someone was throwing a chemistry book down. You know, the first couple of weeks, it's overwhelming, the amount of information, especially if you have, you know, a really experienced guy who, you know, we've met some people along the way who their knowledge is incredible, but they, you know, it's too much for some people. So like the way Hornet broke it down into these like little bite-sized sections, and just being like, don't try to do anything else. Just focus on this one thing. As soon as you got it, come back, we'll work on the next thing. And it just worked out so well to where by the end, it's like, oh, all those little things I did all work towards, what we're watching here, doing these cyclical carrier operations is so rewarding when you then, like, I'm currently in a squadron, shout out to the Fighting Bengals in the CSG3, but super fun when you go from, like, working with these guys, working with us, 2-3 guys maybe out at the carrier with you, helping you come in, to all of a sudden 15-20 other jets up there with you, and you now again have that confidence to sit down and go, okay, I can do this, and get tacking it in those bite-sized chunks to this big payoff is so rewarding.
It's interesting because the first real group where I was very fortunate to have an IP that took me under his wing, and I don't think he understood the level of insanity that I was willing to put in, because I'd basically come fly every night, and I'm like, you want to fly? I'll fly until I've sucked every piece of information out of your head, because I'm enjoying this and I'm learning. And to me, there was, I think, 6 or 7 other flying squadrons. When we would come back to the boat and the boat was busy, I remember this overwhelming feeling of, I'm going to screw up and I'm going to have issues, right? And so to me, once I got a little confidence and I got to feel that and go through the pattern, I don't know, there was a level of immersion that, even though I'm not dropping a bomb, and even though this isn't maybe the glory moment, I actually really enjoy some of those challenges, especially around the boat. I love the boat. I love the carrier. I love the pattern. But I think there is more than just blowing up a bomb, because again, when I read, NATOPS, and I read Chuck's Guide, which is another, great part of the community, and I would go drop a bomb and come back and land on the deck, I wasn't following the pattern probably how I should, and there was no context, and I was like, I'm kind of bored. But just putting in context something like this, to me at least, makes the skills needed and gives you a context where you feel like, I want to uphold the standard. I want to show that I can do this as well. And to me, I enjoy that side. I love teamwork.
Oh, that's what makes DCS so much fun. That's like the whole goal here, is get you into multiplayer. Like, we're like that little stepping stone of, come hang out with us. There's, only a handful of us, mentors, instructors. Hang out, learn what you're doing, take your time. If you mess up on your comms in our server, like, no one's going to jump down your throat. Like, it's an opportunity to work on something versus, going into some really, like you're saying, highly competitive kind of environment.
Yeah, we always joke, here is the calm before the storm.
Yeah.
And I like what you said earlier, the mission, the essential mission statement of the Hornet School is, hey, we're going to take you from single player watching YouTube and, wishing that, hey, you could be this cool, to being ready to, get that first, we're opening the door and getting your foot in the door for that multiplayer experience. And that's really where DCS starts to get fun. You can do, I don't know, Raven campaign. I haven't done anything.
Raven 1.
Yeah, you could do like all these Raven 1 campaigns and stuff, but really it's so intimidating. DCS is a very, very intimidating game, and just our goal is to not make it intimidating. It's to, like, say, hey, like, you give me a month and a half of your time, and I will show you that.
And
Yeah, Hornet, why don't you kind of run through our syllabus?
well, one second, I want to get to that. I want to talk about Zero to Hero in just a little bit more detail, because I know for me, man, you're looking at all these controls and you're trying to figure out how you're going to put them on your joystick, regardless of which one you have. And that alone, I mean, you could spend, days on end just trying to get it set up to what you want. And
doesn't help that they give you a Russian jet too to start with for free, so you can't even read the controls.
That's true.
Yeah, that's true, right? For the free jet that's in DCS. But I'm saying is, you want an adventure, you want to play a game, right? Now, maybe you want to take it more serious or whatever, but you have to start by doing something that real pilots don't have to do. And that is, how am I going to make all of these controls work? Right. And so that's one extra challenge that we have. And that is probably one of the biggest struggles. So I do some profiles for Star Citizen, trying to make some control setup. And the people that use it are very passionate because the time it saves. So I don't want to negate the fact that when you say 0 to hero and you spend, how long do you think you spend with somebody who doesn't have their joystick set up, just getting that portion done for them?
Sir, I want to let you know that I have gone as far as remote accessing somebody's computer to help them with sound systems.
Yeah,
I can confirm.
That's a real thing.
Yes, and I'm not a very tech savvy person, but like you say 0 to hero, I not just me, all of us, we will sit there and we will say like, hey, we'll look up the HOTAS that you have. Okay, well, hey, you're flying on a budget, no issues. We've got about 6 major keybinds that we really recommend you do, and the rest you can just click on or substitute later as you see fit. But we will sit there and one for one, and I love it when people have an X56. I will always preach how great the X56 is.
Preach.
I will sit there with the X56 and say, okay, switch 1, landing gear. Switch 2, landing light. Switch 3, and we will go through the entire mapping of stuff. But what we do here, and what's really unique is we don't shoot guns, we don't shoot missiles, we don't drop bombs. So we will map your HOTAS in a logical way that will get you through our syllabus that allows you to continue and, as I said before, substitute, hey, I'm not too worried about, having this do this now. I'd rather have this do, soy right or soy left or something.
And
yeah, we do it all.
Yeah, and that's why I say it's God's works, because that is, people can have trouble with joysticks, with power issues and hub issues and having to do, USB suspend turned off. And there is an unimaginable amount of headaches you can run into with that crap.
SRS issues.
Right. So I'm saying that when you say, doing this stuff, I want people to understand the grind that you're willing to get into, because I think that's a huge barrier of entry. You get in, you get frustrated, you don't understand it. There's, so many things that you may not know, and there's so much you have to learn that collectively between you guys, I'm guessing there's, a decade's more worth of knowledge, right?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know. I'd say Tanner might hold most of it, but
yeah, I'm a little bit of a nut when it comes to the books.
Yeah, he wrote our entire SOP. This man can tell you everything about anything, and he'll deny it. But
yeah, I definitely can't tell you everything about anything. Otherwise, I'd probably be a god or something. But
I don't know.
He
is who I go to when somebody asks me something I don't know.
Yeah,
Apollo was there for I would say at least 75 to 90% of my training. I was working with Hornet. Apollo would be there as well, answering questions, and yeah, the wealth of knowledge is definitely there.
Yeah, and that's again, I joke on doing all this work for people, and I think it's a great service, and I appreciate it, and that's why I wanted to bring you guys on and discuss it, because I think the community should be aware. And I mean, could you imagine what my experience might have been like had I got all my stuff together? Where am I going to go? Oh, I want to learn the Hornet. There's a Hornet School. I'd have been all in.
Absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely.
So again, there's a Discord link in the description. If you're even considering the Hornet, or if you want to learn a new jet, I would go through this. And so the best. Now, so I'm biased because we do a lot of hard things, and the Hornet makes such sweet sympathy of things it can do to help you do complicated things. That's why I love that jet. But let's ask this one question, then go to the syllabus. What are some of the biggest struggles you've seen with your students?
So the biggest struggle is burnout. It's DCS is not for everyone, and it unfortunately you get to the point where most of the time in our syllabus it's around day 2. So we have a 7-day syllabus. By no means is it fathomably able to be completed in 7 days. But most of the time at day 2, that's where we start to see washouts, and it's unfortunate, but it's a reality. Not every person is psychotic like us. Um,
Sure.
you're gonna get people that are like, I just want to go on DCS dogfighters, man. Just show me how to take off and land, and or geez, I also have the Harrier and I have the Tomcat. I just bought the F-15. I and I'm like, listen, man, like this, you've got to commit to like one thing, and I promise you, it'll be rewarding at the end. But people just lose interest. They get burnt out, and that's really the biggest problem. We have never had a problem student. We have never had anybody that we cannot teach.
Technically one, but
Okay.
I don't think he actually signed up to be a trainee. So,
but we are there. We will break our backs so that you can have an ounce of fun, because it's so rewarding at the end. Whenever and just recently we had 2 graduates graduate our program this weekend, and it's so rewarding at the very end when they're sweating bullets. They're actually being tested and graded and evaluated at a capacity of, well, it's pretty stressful. And
Hornet's throwing
seeing
his
them-
notebook across the room during bolters.
Oh, but it's so rewarding at the very, very end when they can finally relax for that second and take that deep breath and say like, wow, I did something pretty cool. And then we have to burst their bubble and tell them, okay, well, you just scratched the surface. All right, now let's go and get into tack turns and all.
Nice.
But no, we do it because we love to see the results, and we love to hear the stories. We had a graduate who since we've just brought on as a mentor, but after he graduated, he joined up with a new squadron, and he wrote back to us and said, "You guys, after I joined the squadron, I felt so confident when I joined the squadron how to fly the Hornet, and I just wanted to thank you guys for all the knowledge that you gave me." So those are the things that we love to hear.
Yeah, that's great. I mean, you talk about the struggles and what makes someone be dedicated and want to come back. I know in our squadron, we literally tell people in our propaganda that we are not good for people who don't know the Hornet. You must know the jet well, because I can't teach you what we do and the flying at the same time. Those who are dedicated, I mean, that's just pure vertical learning curve, right?
Simple as impossible.
Yeah. And it's not fair to ask them that. So to me, the most successful people come with knowledge of the jet, a desire to learn, and the more they come back, the better. We had one guy who I won't name. He came and I think we flew 4-5 nights a week, and it was motivating me because he was motivated. And so I don't know if that kind of is one of the things you guys like, but I love it when students come and they learn and they just want to keep going.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we see a lot of that. They want to keep going, and we're like, okay, it's 11:30. I got to work tomorrow morning.
I always worry, like when you're teaching someone, for like 3, 4, 5 hours, which we've all done, Saturday afternoon, and you get caught up and realize this person's just a sponge for information. But I worry, how much are you actually retaining at the end of the day? Like, or am I just rambling and pattering on for nothing?
And just like,
Yeah.
like in anything, different people learn at different rates. We have students that come on that learn really, really quickly, and then there's others that take a little bit more time and patience to work out, their overhead brake or going on speed AOA and things like that, which is fine. And they practice, and the next time we see them, we see the improvement. So we'd love to see stuff like that.
I'm glad that you guys have had that experience, because I think it's motivating, and it helps me. Before we move on to the syllabus here, you have a guy, Tristan, in chat here who says that you're impeccable in your ability to push knowledge onto others is wonderful. And then another guy here, Just Doc, says, because I asked him what his biggest challenge was, and it was CQ for sure, because you're being graded by AAR as always. Challenging while in school, the biggest success is knowing you have achieved something and progressing with more knowledge, right? So you got some of your students that are here giving you guys praise. That's great.
Awesome. Love to hear it.
Love you guys.
All right, let's stop teasing this syllabus and let me bring up what you just sent me here. Give me 1 second. And let's actually open this up and we'll share this here. This is a little bit small. The way this...
it's a little goofy. I ended up just breaking it into separate messages.
Okay. Yep. You know what I'll do? I'll just share our chat here. How's that?
That works.
That works great.
Yeah, that's good.
Okay. So, day 0. You guys take it from here. Tell me what you want to cover.
Oh, we'll do that. We'll just do kind of a quick synopsis of the whole thing, and then we'll focus on what I think the bread and butter of being a naval aviator and essentially flying the Hornet is carrier operations. So yeah, day 0. What we start with is we do cockpit familiarization. We, to the best of our ability, will handle any software or hardware issues. Navigating the DCS isms. You can see up there where we talk about HOTAS mapping, SRS, and we'll go through names of panels, necessary keybinds, and the startup procedure. So that is before we even get off the ground. And typically that right there is about an hour and a half. So a lot of the times, day 0, you don't even leave the ground. We just show you how to turn it on, and then, at that point, they're either task saturated because of the amount of buttons we made them click to even get to DCS, or it's after work and it's nighttime. They're like, hey man, we've been at this for an hour. I gotta get to bed. So that's day 0 in a nutshell. I'll let somebody else cover day 1.
You want to cover day 1?
I can do it.
Go ahead, Tanner.
Sure. So our like Hornet said earlier, our syllabus is not actually 7 days long. It takes much longer, and we break it up based off of individual student necessity. So some students need more time on certain days, certain elements. For example, day 0 could take an hour, could take 5 hours, right, if they are having issues plugging in information, getting their jet set up, or getting DCS to work, which I know for everyone is always a struggle. We can accommodate really any kind of situation there. Moving towards our day 1, though, that's really where we're starting to break down our fundamentals. We're learning how aircraft fly, how AOA works, how do we maintain on-speed AOA, and what does that really mean for us. And we have students fly different in-flight profiles, takeoffs, landings, as well as straight and level flight and turns. And throughout these maneuvers, they're learning how to keep coordinated. They're learning how to scan different instruments looking outside the aircraft. And they're starting to build that pilotage skill and ability that will become so inherently crucial once we get to the later stages. So this first like few days that we're really working with the student, it's some of the most important. This is really where they're going to be learning the foundation. And if you don't get a good start there, it almost always crumbles later down the road somewhere, right? You're going to find some kind of deficiency, whether the student is having issues with angle of attack or having issues with making a turn level to the horizon. These are things that we try to hammer out that day one, so that moving forward they can have more success.
Well, these are the baseline skills you need to be able to start flying and working together as a team to learn anything else.
Absolutely. Like we said, if you don't have those skills, everything else doesn't really, everything else can't build on top of each other. So being able to work with the team, it starts on the ground working with your instructor. You're building a team or a bond with your instructor. You're developing communication skills, asking questions, and going back and forth, learning how to operate the aircraft. And then as you transition to flight, you're going to learn more and more of those essential skills in terms of instruments in your cockpit, flying the different maneuvers and the different parameters that we have listed there, and starting to build that, like I said earlier, that pilotage and that capability that is so crucial.
I would say, now we work with real world JTACs, we work with real world intercept control guys, and we have to fly to those realistic standards. It makes it very hard. But these skills here are what allows us to do that. And they are more important than your ability, in my opinion, to use weapons. I don't care. You can learn weapons in a Crash Lobby video in about a minute and a half, depending on which weapon it is. Punch this button, arm that, do this, put the code in, you're done. These are the skills, in my mind, that separate the really good pilots when they master these basics. Like an athlete talking about mastering their basic skills, this is the critical stuff, in my opinion.
Yeah, and you have to have these before you could actually do all that combat stuff. I mean, you need to be able to navigate to where you need to place that bomb, and after you place that bomb, how to get back safely without killing yourself. So you need all of these fundamental skills.
I think what I'm saying is I'm approving of your syllabus. Not that you need my approval, but
good to hear.
Sorry, continue on.
So yeah, from there we do 1.5. And again, I keep having to say this because a lot of people think this happens overnight, and it really doesn't. It does take time. We will do day one, and I will send you off, and I say, hey, spend about an hour a day practicing this for 3 days, and then come back and visit us. But you have got to work on some of these things on your own to retain it, because I can't just show you this once and then it just stick in your head. I mean, it's just too much information. So as I said, like, it could be a week before we get to day 2. It could be a week. It could be day 3 and 4. You may be doing the same day because you're just phenomenal at whatever the topics are. But anyways, I digress. Back to day 1 or 1.5. That's kind of a in-between day where it can happen anywhere. It could really happen anywhere in our lesson, but it's a good chance for us to introduce, hey, here is the bare bones basic of radio brevity and the bare bone basics of the concept of formation flight, because both of those things are not going away. And if you can't learn anything else, I would hope that you can at least have the confidence to say where you're at, who you are, what you're doing, and on the radio, and hopefully have some competence with formation flight. Because where does formation flight really, really matter? At the tanker. So, the entire syllabus does build on itself, and I promise you, if you're in here watching and you're looking at this and thinking, hey, this is a lot, or some of these things that looks like I don't really need to worry about. Every single thing you do leads to the next lesson in some weird way, I promise you. For instance, day one, when you're doing AOA, you're using your throttle like a washboard. This is the first time you've realized, hey, I didn't realize my left hand had to move so much. Then you go to day 1.5, and then I tell you, hey, now you're going to fly formation off somebody, and they realize it's not as easy as just holding your stick and throttle still. So essentially, that's 1.5. It's kind of a bonus day for us to kind of show you, hey, this is how to do form, and this is radio brevity. And I'll let somebody else do day 2.
Well, let's talk about something really quick. You're saying that this is overwhelming in time. I think you got to put that in context. Again, a real fighter pilot's going to work years. Your gentleman here, Just Doc, said he completed this in a month and a half. So to go from 0 to graduating your school with basic skills in a month and a half, you just got to understand, you just compressed probably 2 or 3 years of training. Right? So let's be realistic. And here's probably a more important point. What can you do with these skills? You can join a squadron and you can challenge yourself and you can become part of a team. So you're working to achieve something that you can't do at the same level in, War Thunder or, like I was doing in Battlefield. Yeah, there was the teamwork, but the flying was very boring. It was very not a challenge. And the systems were like, cycle to a target, fire. It was the simplest 2 buttons you ever had. So that was not a challenge. There was no weaponeering involved, right? But I don't want to underemphasize the fact that these are the critical skills, and the fact that once you get them, you can do so much more. It's what you get in the long run, right? You can't look at the hard work now, because the motivation should be that incremental success and thinking, gosh, when I'm done, I want to be able to contribute to a squadron and do missions.
Mm-hmm. And the way this is designed is we teach the absolute bare bone basics, and kind of what every squadron will expect. That's what we teach, and it's nice because it's not too hard. It's challenging, but it's broken up into bite-sized pieces because it's based off the things that I desperately wanted to know how to do whenever I got to my first squadron, and that's essentially how I built this syllabus and put this together. Is what was challenging for me? I wanted to keep it very, very short, because the longer you make this rope that you have to climb, the less you want to climb it, right? So I just wanted to pick the bare bone basic things, teach that, and then send people out, to go have fun.
All right. I got a surprise for you guys. Are you ready?
Oh, yeah.
Let's do a pop-up quiz.
All right.
I just want to say something really quick.
Yeah.
So it's funny, the title says, "Where does Bolter go?"
Yep.
Hornet, our beloved Hornet, his old call sign that he had on our Blue Angel team was Bolter. Mostly because he sucked so much. Well, you know what I mean. He didn't do the greatest on the boat when he first got there, but once I got on the LSO, he nailed a 3-wire every time, obviously. So
nice. Nice. So it's the LSO, not the pilot. Got it. I see who's responsible.
Oh, yeah.
Anyhow, I just want to do a little pop-up quiz.
You've seen this before.
Well, you've seen this. This was actually made by Jabbers and a couple other folks. I'm kind of stealing it.
I'm joking. I've seen this many, many times.
Yeah, so I just put some jets in using their stuff. I'm actually making a series of questions for when we talk about the pattern and whatever. And I just want to throw in just a little bit of, let's put some of the Hornet School stuff right here, right now. So the question is, and let's see if anybody's in chat, if they want to say, if they know where the, what should happen in this scenario. And let's add a couple more things here. Let's see. The skill cap for Star Citizen versus DCS. Woof. I think I have a really good answer for you, Lisa Simpson, liberal. So again,
Awesome name.
yeah, I know. take a look at this while we're talking. I was actually in an organization where we focused really hard on combat. There are so many different things to do in Star Citizen, but like mining and cargo transport. But let's take it in a fighter jet context for a moment, because that's kind of more related to what we're talking about. It can go super hard. And I'm actually part of Squadron, Skunkworks. They have some really high-end fighter pilots, and they work together all the time. Your controls matter. I think dual joystick is kind of the big thing there. I will tell you the skills that transfer for me is form flying in a tactical sense. So not right next to each other like an admin, but when we're spread out and doing stuff, that's important. Being able to judge speed and be kind of tactically aware of the situation, but they are very different, and combat is accelerated a lot faster in a dogfighting sense. So it's a good question. I think you could dig hours into both. The difference is you're going to be building more of like a Twitch dogfighting skill than you are a systems skill, but you are still going to be using systems. They have different flight modes coming out and missiles and different things. So I hope that answers your question, but that's a really good question. I haven't been doing Star Citizen a lot recently, but I do enjoy that game. And someone else answered it is skill cap was high in DCS. I played more challenging, but they are very different games. That's very true, Doc. So no one has answered what we do here. So which one of you wants to tackle this question?
Hornet.
Apollo.
I think Hornet. I really want to see Hornet's answer.
Okay.
All right. So, I mean, I'm going to be honest. I don't know. I don't know where this would go. We'd probably have the dude who's already in the pattern remain in the pattern, depending on the fuel state of the dude who just bolted. That'll come into question later, but I would have him fly out on the BRC and tell him to recommence in about 2 miles or something.
So this dark red line.
Correct.
What that says the bingo pattern, or not the bingo pattern, but yeah, that dark line going towards
that's the bolter
north of the map.
So this is the correct answer. And the reason is when you're in the pattern, you stay in the pattern, right? You do not deviate. Once you hit initial, you're in the pattern. And this is one of the more important things. The way we do this is you can reinsert when the jet that's already upwind is at your 7 o'clock, right? And I have an image of that here. So he can turn upwind when you're looking something like this. He's at your 7 o'clock. And then you can go back into the pattern and try again. So anyhow, I just wanted to sort of little question, put some of this material to reality, but let's get back to day 2, unless you guys got more questions on this.
No, that's great.
Yeah, I'm just building a training aid, and I was like, how can I challenge these guys in real time?
No, yeah, that's awesome.
All right, let me close this out here. We will reopen this. All right,
Day 2.
Yeah.
Day 2.
So day 2 is really fun. That's where we introduce the concept of having some kind of confidence of, hey, where am I going? Like, I took off. I know how to do the overhead brake now. I've done that about 900 times. I'm dizzy. Let's like go fly somewhere. So these next few days, I'm going to kind of breeze through because I really want to get to day 6.
Okay.
But day 2 is navigation. Everything from TACAN, waypoint creation, sequencing waypoints, course line setting, HSI manipulation, autopilot, auto throttle, ADF, FPAS, F10. We everything that all the tools you need to maneuver your aircraft around these landscapes, we teach you that day. Next, once you know how to navigate, hey, now you can start participating in our weekend events. Once you make it to day 2, you can start participating it doesn't necessarily mean like you're going to do well, because maybe you should have gotten a little bit further, but that's the minimum requirement of lessons you need to participate in our weekend events, where we have guest speakers who talk about uh, BVR, all kinds of stuff, just very niche topics that aren't covered in the syllabus, but that I find interesting and that I think everybody else should know. Day 3 is in-flight emergency, left engine versus right engine out. Landing with one engine, jettisoning weapons, the how to induce a flat spin, how to recover from a flat spin.
That's my first thing I do with any new jet.
Yeah.
Enter the flat spin.
Yeah, I want to see if I can get it out of control, right?
Yeah.
But we address the pros and cons of using your APU to restart your engine in flight. To avoid that as like keep that as a last resort. Because you lose your brakes if you do. Anyways, day 4, air-to-air refueling, the bane of every DCS pilot's existence for the first 3 months of their life.
It almost broke me.
And then we do day 5, which is
hold on.
Okay.
Let's talk about air-to-air refueling for a second. All right, because I think this is a very, very important topic, and I like to live stream our stuff because I want to show what we do in real time. I want to show that it's okay to make mistakes. I want to show that sometimes you put yourself into a challenging situation and it just is a sausage factory, and you have to sometimes look at more of the results than the little individual mistakes you made, because you're going to make them, right? And air refueling, I think people, they get really, I mean, did people get any more worked up about anything else than air refueling in your school?
I mean, it's one of the top ones.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's up there.
So, it is funny though. There's the handful of students though that just take to it like a fish to water.
Do it naturally, and I get so upset. Because I have to tell them it took me 3 months. 3 months before I was able to do that.
It literally, like I said, it almost broke me. I was to the point where I had gone through, day up to 3, whatever at that point. Felt like I was confident, feeling good, moving along, and then I just hit this brick wall of air-to-air refueling and almost got me to quit. But I was like, I have to do this.
It's so good.
I wouldn't go on multiplayer until I learned how to mid-air refuel, and I never learned until I actually joined Squadron, and Hornet and Steel actually taught me how to mid-air refuel, and now I love it. It's
great.
So let's talk about joysticks for a second. I have instructed people who were experienced, and I could watch them and see that their input, and I got a video I should make because I have perfect footage of this. You can see their jet is just PIO, up and down too much, right? And so my first instruction is, hey, half your inputs, okay? Try doing that. And then I see they're still struggling, and I'm like, hey, go out 1 mile out, set your altitude, set your auto throttle, and go into your curves and tell me what you've got. I had a guy who had 25, an S curve of 25, right?
Well, that's what Grim tells you to do.
Oh, well.
That means you watched a Grim video.
Okay. I didn't know that. So I'm like, hey, why don't you bring that down to 10 and let's see. And they're like, oh man, this is a lot better. I think I want a little bit more back. Okay, try 13, right? Let's start dialing that in. What I'm saying is, I think the joystick you use and dialing in those controls. Now I'm biased. I was a wheel tester for sim racing for a long time. So I want to dial in the minutia on that so that I can get it crisp, perfect, right? And I don't think you have to do that, but those things can be a big barrier. So your technique is important, and there's videos on that. We could talk about it. But do you guys spend time helping them dial in their joystick?
Yeah.
Yeah.
A little bit.
So I'll just tell you a story from me for when I first learned aerial refueling. I had a T-Flight HOTAS X. It was that cheap one you could buy on Amazon. It was literally the crappiest HOTAS I could possibly find. It was literally a it put an axis under a piece of plastic and called it a joystick. The first time I ever went to the tanker, I think I killed it. I'm pretty sure that's what happened. And every time I came back, I would get a little bit
You mean like you would
less
kill the tanker?
lethal. Oh yeah.
Shut it down.
Okay, because when you say
No, I
kill
would
it,
probably
I'm like,
run into it.
Okay,
Oh.
just want to be clear. We're
No,
talking
I
about a
would-
ball of fire.
Yeah, ball of fire, spinning out of control. That's where the flat spin recovery comes in. And I vividly remember my hand sweating so much that I actually had like a cloth next to me that I could wipe my hand off so that I wouldn't just like be slipping all around. And for me, aerial refueling was one of those epiphany moments of my entire time in DCS. Once I figured out how to do that, everything else became so much more attainable. And for me, I used to fly on those aerobatic online servers, and that's honestly how I got a lot of my grassroots with formation flying and aerobatics. And I would always see these pilots that are like 5 feet from each other, and they're doing rolls and loops. And I was like, wow, how do they do that? I can barely fly straight and level with a tanker and a basket and a probe. And, over time, I developed and learned from other people who had these similar experiences, their own tips and tricks on how they got to be at the level they were. One of them was having that curve set up just right, but another one was more about mentality and also your positioning of your arm. So a big thing for me was having an armrest right below my elbow, right? Because in the real jet, you can rest your elbow on your thigh, and then you can manipulate the stick if you need to. And that's how you get a lot of fidelity there, because you're creating a fulcrum and you have a lot more precision that way. The other one was just keeping a consistent posture and position in your seat, and also where your HOTAS was mounted. So if you like me, I just put my HOTAS on my desk, and that's how I rocked. I didn't have any kind of sim pit set up. So having a consistent positioning for it, and a consistent fulcrum, and a consistent arm, that was really important. And then just in general, in terms of the mental aspect of aerial refueling, you really have to slow down and become calm with the stress and the struggle of it. Because if you're coming into the tanker and you have all these thoughts of, I'm going to overshoot the basket, I'm going to not be able to plug, that starts to eat away at you. But if you come in and you come in very calm and you slowly approach, and I did everything super slowly. I mean, a mile per hour starting a half mile out. So it took me forever to get there. But as I got closer and closer and closer, call the basket out, get closer and closer and closer. All those like PIOs that I think you talked about earlier, and I've definitely seen, they are definitely prevalent when you start, but they start to go away the more time and the more effort that you put into practicing this. And eventually you're not going to start bumping as much, and you'll actually be able to kind of control it for a second or two, and you'll pick an aim point, and you'll actually be able to put the jet where you want to go. And once you start developing that skill, everything starts to fall into place, and before you know it, you're plugged with the tanker, and then you start to freak out, and then you disconnect, and it was great for 3 seconds, but at least you made it work one time. And then, like I said, it's just coming back and getting those reps in.
Well, let's
for sure.
I want to take a look at this here for a second, because there's something that we experience, and I'm wondering if you guys do as well. And you guys have heard the term pilot bucket, right?
You mean oscillation?
Your pilot bucket?
Negative.
You never heard that term before?
No.
Negative.
It rings a bell, but
Okay. So to me, and maybe it's got a different idea, think of a bucket size as how much water you can carry or how many things you can do. And if you have a small bucket, you can't concentrate on all the things you need to at once. So when a pilot, is in the aviate, navigate, communicate, they're going to dump communicate, right? It's probably one of the first things you see overwhelmed pilots dump, right?
Task saturation.
Exactly. So their bucket's overrunning, right? Or it's got a hole in it now, right?
Oh, yeah.
So there's another term I like to coin called concentration dollars. And in this mission, We took off about 20 minutes after the video here because I showed the debriefing in this. And I just did 2 hours of flying and did a CAS mission. And I know sometimes I come back and I've spent a bunch of concentration dollars, and I know that this is a skill I have, but sometimes I find it more of a struggle. I didn't prep this video since we were talking about it, I brought it up. I just want to take a look really quick and let's see how many concentration dollars I have left. And feel free to critique my technique because I'm always willing to learn. So I'm lining up my my HUD to the top of that basket right there. Basically, that's my aim point, essentially.
Same.
Doesn't have to be perfect. I'm not sure what I'm waiting for here. I might not have called the tanker right away. So let's see when I start moving in here.
So one thing I want to bring up while we have a few guys watching, if you are out there aspiring for air-to-air tanking, is if you ever find yourself PIOing, look past the jet, you've got a perfect horizon, artificial horizon, and a velocity vector right in front of you. The second that you start PIOing, center that velocity vector on the horizon, and that'll immediately stop it. A lot of people forget that they have that option. I love the livery.
I was gonna say, I always just try to ease back on the throttle too. As soon as I start to feel myself doing that, if I ease back on the throttle, it seems to settle that movement just at least a little bit.
Yeah.
So I kind of remembered this mission. The mission we did in this is a very, very dynamic CAS mission. Things are moving and you're having to try things or having to do a lot of work. I remembered feeling like, man, I was tired. And you can see here, I have a little PIO. So
you force it. No, that was you chasing the basket.
Yeah,
right there.
this is not
those last 10 seconds was you chasing the basket. You quit looking at forward. You stopped looking at the jet. I tell people, hey, stare at that pylon. You stare at that pylon, use your peripherals to line up. I can tell the exact second where right here. You just stopped looking, you stared at that basket, and you're like, I'm going to make this happen.
I think it's actually worse than that. I think I just got lucky and it connected up during the oscillation and it stuck.
Yeah. There is that. There's luck.
Yeah, so that was not my best, but I think this probably gets into a little bit of the concentration dollars. Normally, I pride myself. I can tell you I was tired when I did this because I try to nail that basket while it's still coming out. And I didn't do that in this. Yeah. And I was holding back and like, that tells me that I was tired and I'm going to take a slower approach, right? And you can see that little effect even with someone who's comfortable doing it. So anyhow, I just wanted to talk about this a little bit because I think this is a huge hurdle for a lot of people. And I think that it takes the combination of dialing in your joystick, just straight having the right technique and then just putting in the time. This is not something
to bring something up to that fact is this goes back to our syllabus, day 1.5, where we teach you formation flying. Somebody in this room, what is tanking?
It's formation flying.
Formation flying.
Yeah.
Too many times do I see people download DCS and then all they want to do is air-to-air refuel. I'm like, bro, you've went from step 1 to step 7. Like, no. You have got to have got to understand the fundamentals of formation flight. And I say it all the time, and I'm sure all 3 of these people in this room are going to be able to regurgitate what I'm about to say is you have to learn your throttle. You have to learn your throttle.
Yeah.
Formation flight is 90% throttle, 10% stick. And I tell people when you're learning how to fly formation for the first time, rest your hand on your HOTAS, rest your hand on your table, pinch it with your finger and your thumb, push and squeeze, push and squeeze, push and squeeze. With your throttle, rest your hand on the throttle, and then push and pull with your fingers. It's too much of the time do I see people thinking that they have to make these gross changes and oh my gosh, and you see their wings almost completely vertical at some points because they're overcorrecting so much. You have got to learn your throttle. And once you learn your HOTAS altogether, that's when you can start approaching the tanker. But get good at flying off of its wing. There is nothing wrong with flying off the tanker's wing, finding a reference point, and being true to that reference point and holding yourself accountable to that reference point. The second that you can do that, you are then ready to tank.
Absolutely.
It's surprisingly helpful for formation flying. Like, you're at that stage, like where I was when I was learning this, that you don't want to go into a multiplayer server, because as soon as you do, you're just, someone's going to jump down your throat, someone's going to throw a missile up your ass while you're trying to do this, whatever it may be. And that trick there, like Hornet was saying, find the tanker and just chill off his wing. Get, start on the left, whatever side you're comfortable with. But just, he's a great tool for more than just tanking.
Yeah, and the other big thing is, and the way that I think about formation flying is, you're flying an airplane, and the Hornet is beautiful in the fact that you don't have to do anything to control it. You ever flown a small airplane or a more manual airplane like a P-51? You have to do everything for it. You let go of the stick, it'll send you right into the ground. You have to trim it out all the time. The Hornet is different. It trims for 1G all the time. You let go of the stick when you're straight and level, it shouldn't move unless you have any asymmetry. So use that to your advantage when you're flying formation. Set the plane to be straight and level right next to the tanker. Look over at the tanker and see, are you trending up? Are you trending down? Are you moving towards it? Are you moving away from it? And then make a slight correction towards it in the opposite direction of the movement, and then recenter and reevaluate. And if you can do that 50 feet out or 100 feet out, you can do that 10 feet out, as long as you're doing those corrections quicker and with more precision. That's all it is just making tiny inputs to stay on course. Then there's nothing else to it. If you start to overthink it and you start to kind of bobble up and down, that's where you're causing that. That's nothing that is happening because of your surroundings. It's just you putting in too much input.
I would say I'll have a nasty habit. I'm going to redeem myself here in a second. I have a nasty habit of, I'll play this while we're talking. I would grab the throttle with a bad angle, or the stick, with a bad angle, squeeze too tight, and realize like I'm doing this weird like tension in my hand. And as soon as I learn to relax my hand and put it in the right spot, I can do like you guys can see here, where I'm chasing it as the basket comes out and I'm just plugging it, no problem. That's something you should try to do. I'm just being cocky doing that. It's not.
I try that all the time.
What was that?
I try that all the time.
Yeah. So
Okay, you want to talk about being cocky? We can.
Oh yeah. That's right.
Yeah.
I just had to redeem myself after showing the PIO. I got to show that I can do it.
There you go.
I was actually going to make a point that something you did there is really important to show like newer pilots, is like even someone with your level of experience makes mistakes. You get tired, so don't beat yourself up so much when you make these little mistakes. Like everyone does them.
Absolutely. And one of the reasons I like to show live streams and not edit out mistakes is that is 100% what happens. We go to kind of the school of hard knocks. You can build up all the schooling you want and all the skills. But if you go out and challenge yourself, I promise you're going to make a mistake, go back and debrief it, learn from it, move on and come again. So when pilots come in and see us do things, they don't see all the screw ups we did before they got there, right?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's a long journey to get to where Callie is like watching this. This is not anything that happens overnight.
No.
Yeah, it's like I said, I've been, into this, for a little over a year, and just recently coming back from, a little training mission with my squadron. They put me in the lead position. So I'm like all stressed, trying to, do my best. And did everything great. Everything was perfect, except I planned for the runway going the wrong direction. And then they didn't tell me until, the last minute. And then the helmet fire started. And it was like, oh, God, and everything just fell apart from there. But, again, those mistakes are like part of what make DCS fun. Because then it's like, okay, never going to make that mistake again.
Well, there's a mistake I'm making here. Can you guys see what it is?
Radar.
Yep. I left my radar on. Totally.
Yeah, you're giving cancer to everyone on that airplane.
Radiated everybody.
Is radar ionizing? I don't even know if the radar is.
Chest.
Yeah.
It is. Okay. Yeah.
It's the Navy. Everything's ionizing.
Yeah. So yeah, this is even
Being
here.
at 30,000 feet, it's ionizing.
Even here, right? There's something to be learned. Something I made a mistake. It actually took me a while to remember this because I was so focused on doing this that sometimes I still screw this up. So I've never had a perfect flight. I don't think.
Yeah, but to those new pilots, you're not going to be this smooth. This smooth comes with practice, and you're developing that muscle memory. After you figure this out and you're this smooth, you'll think back, well, why was this so hard for me? But it's your body, your brain. You're teaching your brain and your muscles how to do this, and then it becomes just like when you're driving a car. Remember when you first took driver's ed and you got back of the steering wheel for the first time? You were so focused right in front of the vehicle, you didn't see anything else. So it's the same thing with this. You're just training your brain these fine motor skills to do this. So you just have to put in the hours and the practice to get this smooth. But it'll happen.
Well, I'll give one little tip while we're here. I know this stupid thing is covering up, but it won't in a second. If you can see my temp and my throttle, I want you to see how much, once I'm connected, that never sits still. If you can see in the bottom left down there.
ABCs.
Yep. It never, once I get in position, that throttle never stops moving. And
you can't just put an autopilot. Some people think you just
that is my pet peeve.
Yeah. I think you match the speed of the tanker, you put an autopilot or auto throttle.
No. Like I can see I'm like 87%, 80, 84, 85, 86, 84, 83. Like I'm just constantly moving the throttle.
That's the washboard.
I preach the always be correcting, the ABCs with everything though. I mean, just every flight, nothing is perfect. There's wind, there's all sorts of things that are affecting the flight of your jet, like exactly. You can't just I'll just walk away. I mean, yeah, you have autopilot and whatnot, but I mean with sans those things, you can't just okay, I'm heading 224 at 350 knots, I'm just walk away and come back 20 minutes later, like you'll be in the ground.
Yep. Anyhow, we're probably sidebarred on this. You wanted to get to day 6, so let me bring that back up here.
A lot of good points there, though.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Real quick disclaimer is the HOTAS does not make the pilot. The HOTAS does not make the pilot. I can air-to-air refuel on an Xbox controller. That's not me showing off. That's me saying you don't need a $800 Virpil throttle and stick and throttle to do what you're seeing in front of you.
It's the poor carpenter that blames his shoddy tools.
Exactly.
I mean, they can help, but they're not going to make you no skill to able to do it.
So if you think that if you're watching this and you are thinking, well, geez, man, I've got the $60 Warthog, maybe that Warthog throttle or Thrustmaster or Logitech, what have you, getting a new throttle likely is not going to make you any better at tanking. That's a luxury that once you are at that caliber that you can explore later. But I just wanted to add that.
Do you know I put a curve into my throttle?
Oh yeah, I do.
Yeah, I have one as well.
I do.
Anyhow,
yeah,
I've used my keyboard during tanking before.
Okay.
I don't think I can do that. That's not going to be a skill I've got.
Well, I also have 2,000 hours of KSP. And I fly jets in KSP a lot. Kerbal Space Program.
Oh, got it.
Oh, gosh.
Well, let's get through here. I don't remember where we were. Were we at day 4?
So we hit air-to-air night flight, which is...
night flight's my favorite.
Oh, night flights.
Yeah,
night flight's easy.
Go for it, Fett.
Yeah, night flight, we're way easier on the students now than they were on me back in the day. But we basically just take you up. You do like a 15-mile DME and then land with really, really poor visibility. Nothing that's going to be insane, but, you aren't going to see the runway until you're getting pretty dang close. So it's teaching you to trust your instruments. And that's something that, like, even I still struggle with, on case 3s at night. I use that term helmet fire. You just got so much going on, and it's hard to remember, like, oh yeah, these things know what they're doing. Like, if you did everything right when you came in, trust your instruments, you know what you need to do. We've taught you everything you need to do at this point. So pretty simple. Take off, arc around, come back in for a landing. How well can you do it?
Hey, do you guys take them out to the tanker at night?
I don't think it's in our syllabus, but I love taking people out. Like, I always tell our students too, if there's anything you want to do on the side, hit me up. I love doing whatever.
That's what's really great about the whole syllabus is it is structured, but I want instructors to teach in their own teaching style. And even it says there in day 5, like, scenario can be up to instructor discretion. You know what needs to get done. You know, at this point, you know what the student should be demonstrating. Go have fun. Go have fun.
Just I've told students, like, hey, you're not quite ready for that yet. Like, come back after you've done this or that. But, for the most part, if you're willing to learn, we're willing to teach.
Well, and I think you nailed it about, you got to look at your instruments. I hadn't done a lot of night flying, and I was so used to, like, visually seeing things and just kind of referencing my instruments. It changed me to, I fly off my instruments even in the daytime more than visually now. Now, doing close air support, you have a very tight boundary. You have to be in a very, very tight space. And I'll fast forward a video I have here. You can see where these jets you're going to see them never break this line here. They have their own little airspace. And so developing that skill and that comfort level gives you other skills that you can apply in other situations. So it was a big transition for me to learn and stay in my spot in a case 3 recovery and focus on those instruments. But that skill translates, just like form flying is the same as aero refueling. So sometimes realize your skill is going to be used and built in other ways.
Absolutely. All right, who wants to take day 6? That's the real meat and potato. That's what that's where everybody really wants to end up.
So day 6 is day 6 is a lot of fun. However, so day 6 is carry operations. And when we teach carry operations, there is a lot of information that we cover in a fairly short amount of time. We actually have Tanner actually put together a PowerPoint presentation that we use when we cover the carry operations, because there's so much that we have to cover. So
hour and a half at ground school.
Yeah. And so when we get them up there, we teach them all of the radio calls to Marshall. So we tell them, what distance you need to be at when you make your first call, what what the verbiage is when you talk to Marshall, what all that information means to the Marshall. The Marshall will spit back more information to you. What you need to do with that information, he's going to give you an assigned altitude to come into the boat. So we teach them all the radio calls to the boat. We teach them the Marshall stack. We teach them when and where they have to commence and how they come into the initial. Of course, we've more or less covered the overhead brake and flying on-speed AOA, but carrier style instead of airfield style. And teach them how to land on boat, what to do when you get on the boat. Yeah, we teach them the spin pattern. We teach them the 210 plus the BRC to approach the carrier. All that stuff. Am I missing anything?
How to fly the ball.
And how to fly the ball. How to talk to the LSO. Actually, you're not talking too much of the LSO.
Hopefully you don't have to hear the LSO.
Yeah.
It's a great example, though. Like, I feel like when we did my first time, like really attempting the carrier, like doing it by the books with Hornet and Apollo one day, it was like the revelation of, oh, whoa, everything that I've been working on, I just used like some piece of it, other than I guess, flat spin recovery, God willing. But,
Yeah.
you used everything there to get you down on the deck. And it was like, oh, everything it clicked. It was like, oh, this all made sense why we did it this way.
Yeah. You're using your TAC,
I
you're
want
using your course line, you're using waypoints, you're using everything.
So you just gave me a new challenge. I want the tanker in a flat spin, and I want a tank while I'm in a flat spin.
Oh, gosh.
If you can make it, we can do it.
I'll give it a try.
Let's do it.
How are you going to control this tank?
I don't
Maybe
know.
a C-130. Can we get a C-130 in the flat spin?
Challenge accepted. Let's do it. Yeah. I've got to try that now. Anyhow, sorry, continue on. I have crazy ideas. I just have to share them.
So we teach you how to fly the numbers. What your altitudes and your airspeeds are, and how to do it safely. You're assigned certain altitudes around the boat. Everyone that flies around the boat is given an altitude, and we teach altitude discipline. So we avoid, any conflicts, any collisions around the boat. Of course, we don't want any of that happening. And we love it when these students get out there and they trap for the first time.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's the day that I think makes you feel the most like, it's a simulator and all that video game at the end of the day, but you feel like a badass because you just did something like that was pretty damn difficult, especially when it like really looks nice at the end, a clean groove, just hitting a 3-wire. Like there's nothing that feels better.
Absolutely. It's such a cool experience because you're not using the DCS air traffic control. You're like Tanner. He is a wonderful LSO. He's really good. He's one of those few people that doesn't just spit out words. He knows what's going to happen, and he can see it happening 3 steps before you even know it's about to happen. So we've got experienced LSOs. We've got, marshalers that are able to, bring you into the boat. It's a really surreal experience when it all comes together for the first time for somebody. And like Fett and Echo said, it's the very first time. It's this culminating event where you finally get to see all your hard work being applied all at one specific thing that you can walk away from and say, wow, that's pretty cool.
I know for me, I was going to try to find the video, but it's for another day. I don't think I've had a perfectly maintained ball, perfectly lined up 3-wire very often. I did one the other day and I was like, what did I do different? Why am I always chasing the ball and it's slightly rising or slightly? I mean, it literally held the meatball on the freaking perfect way all the way in. I was like, my God, why can't I do that every time? You know what I mean?
We just did a CQ with a student this past weekend, and his groove work in general was like superb. We were telling him afterwards, like every time, I think he had 1 or 2 that were a little shaky. I think his first one was bad, admittedly. Everything after that, though, he just was like, okay, now I'm comfortable, got it figured out. But he had one where he hit a perfect 3, and Hornet was LSOing that day. And he literally was just like, okay, call the ball. He called it, and then that was it. He just came in. There was no communication. It was absolutely like picture
Roger ball. 5, 4, 3, 2. All right, 3-wire, red deck.
Yeah, it was impressive, especially from the student. He was one of those students that kind of like, he didn't breeze through it by any means, but he came with a little bit more experience. But I was even just like, that was genuinely impressive.
So I'm going to play this really quick here.
Yeah.
I just want to play this and play it a little faster speed, but I don't know, man. I love the pattern. I love seeing the pattern happen like this. I think this is a 3-ship.
I see that shit hot.
Yeah, well, whenever there's a 3-ship, I actually do it all the time because I just enjoy it. It's faster it's less fuel time, less maintenance, right?
Something like that.
Yeah. But I love seeing this pattern develop like this and knowing all the skills that it takes and seeing everyone, hit their groove time or their break times and all of that stuff and just really work the pattern and get down in a way that, I don't know, everyone's down and I jump on the LSO platform and I get them all down and I see it and I feel like we just kind of put a dot on the end of a good operation. And I don't know, it's just, it might sound dumb, but I love seeing the pattern work. I love being on the LSO platform and seeing all my guys get down.
Oh yeah.
I love football, and like the one thing I was always taught as a kid was, do your part, do your job. As long as you're doing your part, your other teammates are doing their part, everything will kind of work. And this like brought all that back to me, because it's like when you're doing this again, like when we're training people, there's maybe another jet or two up there with you, but when you're doing it with 15, 20 plus jets, you doing your part and not worrying about other planes, just focus on your part, do your thing, stay calm, is a really fun feeling for me.
Yeah, I enjoy it.
I just want to jump in there watching that. That was 18 seconds between traps. That was pretty good timing, by the way. Okay.
Yeah, we do a 17-second break. So
well, you were on it. That was 18. That was pretty good.
Yeah, the when I do the shit hot, it throws the timing off a little bit. Sometimes it's better, sometimes it's a little worse because they might go all the way to the 1 mile or whatever. So I don't really count mine on the initial. It's everything after that I look at.
Not yours, the last two.
Yeah. So here is a 4-ship really quick, and then we'll get into your last day here. And I show this because we show mistakes. I bolter on this one, but for the pattern quiz that we asked earlier, this is the exact scenario that pattern quiz comes in on. So I think I'm cool. I actually cut a pretty good circle here. I can usually tell how well it's going. It's a little off. But either way, so bring in a 4-ship. I bolter. So now, right, if we back this up a little bit, this is the exact scenario we asked that question on. I got all these jets. It's gonna be a while before I can turn back in, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
So
BRC.
Yep, I gotta turn back to BRC, wait for my interval, fly on speed, get up to my 600 feet, all that stuff, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, see, my squadron, we have a tower as well. So like in a bolter situation, we got to switch back over to tower quick and, make sure they know what's going on. But yeah, it can be hectic, especially when there's this many planes going around. You panic quick if you're not paying attention.
That's one of our biggest struggles. So if anyone out there, you can happily join us if you want to fly, but if you want to be a controller, it's our hardest position to seem to get filled on a consistent basis.
Tanner.
Great pattern work, though. Very cool to watch.
Yeah.
I'm doing too much already.
It's all good. But yeah, no. So I only show this because I think it's good to put things in context. So you can see I had to wait. I think I went a little bit long on this one. I could have turned in earlier, and that'll show down here when I should be about the 180 as he's rolling in and calling the ball, and I'm a little late. So not only did I bolter, but my groove is a little bit off. I could have turned in quite a bit earlier than this, right? Which again is okay in this scenario, but if there's other jets behind me, now I'm stacking them up, right?
Yeah,
so
they're gonna have to spin it or something.
Yeah, so let's not do that. Anyhow, let's get back to your day 7 was it, or day 6?
Day 7.
All right.
Graduation
Final
day.
one.
The day of days.
The carrier qualification.
Get your deodorant ready.
I get my snacks ready, honestly.
I
Sitting
know.
at the plat cam.
When you're
get a
first
beer
when
and-
you're first doing it, yeah. I think every student, we had to talk, you might still be watching, but we had to talk one student, calm him down a little bit. It's like, dude, it's all good. It's just me and Hornet.
Yeah.
We're chill.
We have
You've flown
some
with us a
breaks.
million times. Yeah, we'll give you a break like halfway through. It's not, we're not trying to put your feet to the fire. We just want you to realize that you can do it consistently.
It is designed to artificially stress you to the point of pulling your hair out so that you are prepared for down the road coming back from a 2-hour sortie where maybe your wingman or your flight lead got shot down and now you're leading a flight. So it it's as I said, it's designed to artificially stress you so that you can prove to yourself, hey, I can do this. I can do this. If I can do this 8 times in a row, by myself, I can do this once, with a couple of guys following me. But it is stressful. It really is. And, from the outside looking in, you would think that everybody's overreacting, but until you've done it, you don't know.
So, Hornet, define
With an
define
audience.
what the CQs are.
Okay, yeah. So with so our CQs, right? They are, you must complete 8 successful arrested landings out of 12 attempts. Approximate time is 2 hours and 30 minutes. That's a long time to be sitting in there.
And you start from the land.
Yeah, we do start from the land, and we have you do a couple of orbits in the Marshall stack so we can grade you there. But you are graded and scrutinized at the highest level that because this is my seal of approval. This is hey, like I think you're good enough. Good day, sir. Like this is our name that's going to be traveling with you as you go to a new squadron. So we want you to be perfect. So it starts from about 110 miles away on land. You take off. You radio in, you do your marking mom's call, you get into the stack. We are very comms heavy here. I understand that most case one is zip lip, but we are very comms heavy during our SOP for the whole.
I'm so glad you referenced our SOP. That makes me so happy.
So there is radio calls. So they are having to say, hey, 100 establishment stack Angels 2, hey, 100 commencing state 6.1. So there's a lot more chatter that goes on, but that's even better if they get to a squadron that really does follow zip lip operations and they just do their marking mom's call and go from there.
Can I tell you a secret?
Go for it.
When you're inside your own jet and you make your own little mistakes that I don't know about, all I see is the result. I can't judge you on how well you got your targeting pod on something, except for if you delay me. Everyone in a squadron, when you're new, they're going to watch this so hard.
Yep.
I tell people when I did my first carrier, with my group, and I don't even get to fly missions with him yet. I'm not even at that point with my group, but I was critiqued by being, I think it was 20 feet too high at one point during the Marshall stack. And I think I was consistently 5 mile or knots too fast. Nothing that's outrageous or anything. He even said, I'm not picking on you. You did great. Because you did so great, here's the 2 tiny little grains I can find to throw at you. And, you feel good though. You feel great when it's again, this training paid off because I was like, hey, I did it. That's the worst you could find. All right.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah.
But if you make someone competent in this area and they go to a squadron, that squadron not only should be thanking you, but you're going to set, you can refuel in the air and you can do this. This is a high bar for a lot of squadrons and a challenge. So you'll come out smelling and looking like, you've got your stuff together.
We had one of our guys so ready. He had worked so hard. I almost think he overworked himself to the point of he was so critical of himself during the test because I had seen this dude came out to our case 3 fun night where we go through and we teach everything that has to do with the case 3 and then we run a case 3. Comes out, does the case 3 pretty freaking good, and then it's really rewarding when you see that these guys just come in and they get past the carrier qual and it's finally like, hey dude, welcome. you're no longer a fledgling anymore.
It's that
There's still a lot
final
to-
shot of confidence that most people, I feel, need before they go into, at least for me, before you go into the group itself, like join a squadron. Because, it gives you that last tool you need. I know I need to be able to consistently land on the boat if I'm going to fly with a bunch of dudes who land on boats, So it gives you that last, boost to go, I can do this.
It's not something we give away. It's certainly not something we give away. We've had people come pretty close, and we've had people pass with flying colors. But you notice here that they have to pass with 75% or higher. That accounts for their overall GPA with all their traps. So you can really screw yourself pretty quickly if you have a mass out. So altitude discipline is key. So that is the highest. That's the highest mark that's the highest point hit that you can get in the CQ is mass altitude deviation, and it gets very, very critical. 1 mile within the boat, that's 100 feet high, and I consider that a mass altitude deviation, because 100 feet lower and you're getting into the Seahawk, and
Yeah.
It really,
Well, when you break, if you don't maintain 800, you could have someone bolter underneath you at 200 feet.
have somebody doing
Exactly.
case one departures and hit them. So yes, that is the biggest thing that I look for. My biggest pet peeve is when people are up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, throughout the entire carrier operation.
Yep.
But yeah, if they can manage to trap 8 times, they get 12 attempts. So if they bolter or LSO weighs them off, oh well, that's an attempt. Sorry, man. I mean, now you got to bite your nails.
Yeah.
That's what happened to me in my CQ. I used up all my screw ups early, and luckily I work good under pressure, so I managed to get it back under control. But no, it definitely puts the fear of God into you for a little bit.
Yeah.
Well, I want to ask a question here as we wrap up. Oh, sorry, did you have something else?
Yeah, let me just say that an immediate fail is if you crash in the water, crash on the boat.
Oh, yeah.
If you crash, that is the biggest point, Doc. You're going home.
Have we had anyone do that on
We've
the
not
CQ
had anybody.
yet?
No.
Okay,
We
I
have
didn't want to say
lessons.
that confidently, but
On the day
lessons for
sixers
sure.
we've had them.
Yeah, everyone that we've done that has passed.
I've had a lot of students where you do day 6, and it's a week or 2, if not longer, before they're confident enough to come do their CQs. It's a lot of practice to really nail your CQ.
Yeah.
So, in the beginning, I posed the question, is a squadron worth it? Is the effort worth it? I think it's an individual question that has an individual answer. But let me tell you why I think it is. I'd like to hear from you guys, and then we can close this out. All of the work, all of the stuff comes to a comparison between 2 times doing a high-end mission with lots of comms and flying in a squadron. First time I did it, man, I am just trying to stick to this guy's wing, not crash into him. There's so much going on the radio. I think I know what's going on. Maybe I don't. Either way, he's telling me what to do. So if I just follow that, we'll be okay. I can even tell that the flight lead in a couple of moments was like, man, there's a lot going on. You could tell his concentration dollars were at maximum, but he's still getting through it. And then doing a lot of work, mastering the skills, going through a full mission, coming back and landing at the boat with confidence, knowing that I can land. And if I can't, I know the pattern. I know what's going to happen. That, to me, the difference between feeling like maybe I can contribute, maybe I'm a burden, maybe I'm extra work, to now I feel like I can contribute to a mission and do the teamwork, which is what I enjoy, to that final point where I'm comfortable and I can do it with the skills I've earned. To me, there's a lot of work in between there. But I like the challenge. I like working together as a team. When we started One Actual, the simple concept was we want to fly the Hornet tactically as a team and do things that you can't on your own, right? We want to be able to achieve things that require teamwork. So to me, that's worth it. I think it's an individual question. Echo, I'd like to hear from you and what you think is it worth it and why?
Absolutely worth it. Well, I equate this to, they talk about, here's another football analogy. So in the NFL, they talk about rookies who are just starting, and they talk about the speed of the game. It's the same thing when you're new in a squadron, you're new to DCS. The speed of the game is really, really fast. There's so many things that are going on that, yeah, you're barely just hanging on. You're trying not to run into your wingman. But as you become more competent, the speed of the game starts to slow down, and that's when it becomes fun. That's when you're starting to contribute to the team. So that's what I wanted to say about that. Because yeah, I think the Squadrons is worth it because that's when it gets fun. That's what this is all about.
Nice. Fat, how about you, sir?
Oh, absolutely. Like the fun thing for me with joining the squadron was getting really quickly humbled again. Because like I went through this training, felt really confident, right? You know, like, hey, I can land on a boat, I can go tank, I can do all this stuff. And then you join up with these guys who really, really know their stuff. And you realize that you've just chipped away at the tip of an iceberg and there's so much left to learn. And
Yeah.
but it's so much more fun, you know, because again, like that sense of accomplishment and reward that you get at, you know, the first time you tank, the first time you land on the boat, you keep getting that. The first time you drop a bomb and it hits right where you want it to,
When you needed
feeling.
it in context, not just doing it on your own.
Yes. Like I got thrown in the fire. My first night with the squadron, we were doing 9 lines.
That's too much, brother. That's too much.
What I learned in the school gave me the confidence and the tools to do it. I didn't ace it, but I did it. You know, like I hit my target that night. I dropped a bomb. It all worked. It wasn't perfect, but it worked. And if it wasn't for the confidence I had going through this, I would have like attempted that, quit out halfway through, and deleted the game and my Discord and everything else.
Nice. Well, and I think what you're saying too is that the challenge in DCS is never ending. And, you know, dollar for dollar, you might spend a bit on your computer or your setup, but I'm going to challenge you to find something you're going to get more entertainment value out of for the hour. And I'm going to say that happens best in a squadron.
Amen.
Yeah.
Hornet, how about you, sir?
I am an anomaly. So I always joke and I say I retired.
We know
from combat.
You're an anomaly.
I always joke and I say, hey, I retired from combat like 3 years ago to go LARP as a Blue Angel on a little VBA team. Shout out to DCS Blue Angels, by the way. Anyways, so
I'm going to show that video you shared while you talk. Continue.
It's I will say this. When I first joined, I got picked up by a really, really unique squadron called US PACOM. That's where I met Echo.
That's where you brought me on.
That's where I brought Echo on.
Yeah.
I've known Echo for, since 2019.
A long time.
And yeah, me and him, we really got our feet wet in the world of DCS and US PACOM. It was a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful time.
Yeah.
Sadly, it kind of fell apart just for the fact that everybody had different, things going on. But I really found my niche in aerobatic flying. The last time I said Fox 3 was 2020. So.
Not lying.
Yes.
He always runs away to try to go to combat.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. And so definitely find yourself a squadron because that's where you really start to have fun. But it doesn't have to be a squadron. Find yourself a cool group of guys that, you enjoy doing something together within DCS. And
Absolutely.
You will have a blast. So you don't have to shoot guns. You don't have to, say, Roger Ball to have fun. It's really the group of guys you surround yourself with is what makes DCS. You don't have to be super, super technical, and you could be the most relaxed group in the world that just goes out and does loop-de-loops for 3 hours. Really, just as long as you're with a bunch of dudes that enjoy something, you're having fun. I'll leave it at that.
look, the thumbnail I made for the live stream shows up as a suggested video.
That's kind of funny.
Sorry. I was like, wait a minute, I know that. I don't know if you guys saw, but I had the papers thrown out and said, study these.
I did. I loved it.
Kind of jokingly, but yeah. So I think I agree 100%. Find something that you enjoy doing completely, right? That's absolutely critical. Tanner, again, your last. Sorry, brother.
No, that's okay. No problem at all. For me, I never really had a dedicated military squadron experience in DCS. And it's not because that's not what I wanted. I always liked doing combat, and I always did take that to a pretty high level whenever I could. But for me, my squadron was the Blue Angels. I was the original co-founder of our Blue Angel team about almost 3.5 years ago, and started out a bunch of guys. We just wanted to have fun, fly formation, do cool stuff, make it look good, and over time that transpired into a really high level professional team environment where we're pushing ourselves to perfect a demonstration that is all about excellence and all about that pursuit of perfection, even though you might not get there, that you're going to hopefully get there one day. And that for me was really enticing, along with just the fact that you get to fly 5 feet away from an airplane or 18 inches away from an airplane. Some of those maneuvers, we really had the opportunity to connect with one another, and I've made some of my best friends in that team, in that squadron, and it's been a great experience for me. And we always pride ourselves on doing our absolute best. We'll have good days, we'll have bad days, and everything in between. And we still come out on top, and we still own our mistakes. And we always have a saying. There's a saying in the Blue Angels: "It's glad to be here." After all of those hard flights, we just say, you know what? Bottom line, we are glad to be here. We're glad to be doing what we're doing, and that goes back to just the squadrons in general. All the squadrons are team-oriented groups, working together. All of you hopefully have a common goal, and you're just working towards that goal and to help each other out and to better each other every day.
And I appreciate you saying that, because I think one of the key things that people may not realize is why you guys want to help people. Squadrons want to help people grow and get better. They want more wingmen they can have as good teammates to work on. So I think if you find the right place, whether you want to fly with real JTACs and challenge yourself there, or if you just want to do aerobatics, or maybe you guys do something simpler, it really doesn't matter. It matters that you're enjoying it. You're going to spend a lot of time with these people. Find the group that's best for you, right? And the things that you like doing.
Amen.
So with that, we're a DCS squadron. Do a little bit of Star Citizen maybe down the road. There's some of the tools we have in our toolbox. I appreciate you guys watching. If you want to join, there's a link below in our Discord. Obviously, we've been talking about Hornet School, and we have them here tonight. I've enjoyed having you guys here with us. I don't know if you're interested in coming back, but I have some other topics we didn't get into tonight. I've enjoyed you guys coming over. If you're interested in learning more about the Hornet, please, there's a link in the description below for Hornet School, and join their community and talk with them. But if you guys are interested, I'd happily have you guys come back and we could do some other things.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah,
that sounds great.
Okay. I've been looking for some people to discuss. I think there's a lot of interesting things in the DCS community. I appreciate all the interaction from the people watching tonight. I look forward to doing more. Any of you guys got anything before we shut this down?
Just thanks again for having us. We had a really good time.
Yeah.
Thanks,
Awesome.
Kelly. Really appreciate it.
Yep.
I hope this reaches out to some people, and gets, if you're not interested in DCS, hopefully now you are.
Yeah, come fly the Hornet with us. We want to
Yeah.
teach you.
Yeah.
It doesn't even have to be in the Hornet. I mean, just doing what you're passionate about is the most important thing. And if it's a Squadron, if it's the Hornet, if it's whatever it is in DCS or in any other sim, just do what you're passionate about, and that'll almost always land you in the right place.
Every squadron needs more Tomcat pilots and more
Oh, yeah.
Neos. I know that.
Tomcat Ball.
Wow. Yes. Well, with that, again, I appreciate you guys coming. I appreciate our audience. And, we will be doing more. So if you want that, go ahead and subscribe. I think that the DCS community is a great community. I'd like to show more of that. I think there's other topics we can get into. With that, I hope everyone enjoys their Wednesday nights. I know this has gone a little bit late. And thank you for watching. Have a good night.
Thank you.
Thanks.